I made a video a few years ago about how much it costs to publish your book, but I thought it was time for an update because I've been doing it for several years and the industry has changed so much in the last couple of years that's worth revising. So a few things to get into in regards to publishing your book. Generally, authors who are looking for how to publish a book, how much does it cost to publish a book, the problem is when you Google things like that, you're going to get a lot of publishing services. So when publishing, a real publishing house is going to give you an advance against royalties, and they're not going to charge you to publish. They take care of all the services, they do the book formatting and the cover design for you, and they publish your book, and then they'll pay you an advance, and they'll pay you royalties if your book sells out the advance. That's what you want to get, but it's very difficult to get a traditional publishing deal unless you already have a big audience. So a lot of people are self-publishing, which has now become more mainstream. There's a lot of people doing it. There's a lot of people who are making money from it. I was going to say, but actually, almost everybody is not making money from it. So most authors publish books that people don't really want to read. They don't have a platform. They don't know how to market. So most authors spend more than they make, and they don't make money from their book. But there are also some authors who know what they're doing. They've been doing this for a while. They know how to spend less to publish their book and earn more. So they're actually earning a living from their books. So ideally that's where you want to get to, but that's not usually where you start off. So when you start off, you usually Google how to publish a book. You'll find a lot of services and companies who advertise really hard to get their products in front of you, and they offer publishing deals. So they may call themselves a small publishing house or a small press, and they basically charge you to do the services for you. That's kind of okay, but they tend to charge a lot. So they may charge like $1,500 to start off with a publishing package, which includes cover design and formatting. That's about how much I charge. But just because I've been doing it for a long time and I have a lot of demand for book cover design services, but a lot of authors who have been doing it for a while know that they can get formatting and cover design for a lot less, especially if you know, depending on the genre, there's a lot of new designers in Asia, in the Philippines, or in Eastern Europe, where the cost of living is lower, or they're newer. They're illustrators who don't really know how to make money online, so they find that they can make a lot of money doing illustrations for cover design. So for fiction, you can get some really amazing high quality cover designs for a couple $100s, which I think is great. But those cover design services also tend to be really busy. So they get really busy because there's so much demand, and they probably raise their prices. That's what I had to do. I started charging a few $100s years ago, but I had too much demand, so I had to keep raising my prices until I basically priced myself out of the market, which is fine because I want to be writing fiction full time now. So you can end up paying, I read something like 5 or 10 years ago that the average self-publisher pays about $2,000 to publish their book. And I think that's the average that vanity press publishing house services charge. So if you find a publishing company that says they're very eager and they want to publish you, they may put in front of you some options and they say, we want to publish you, but you just have to pay for editing or for cover design or for, like the book needs a final polish, and they'll sell you some services, but they're actually making money from the services. That's okay, that's a business model, but like I said in a video that I just made, you want to be paying, ideally you want to be paying the service provider directly. So you want to pay for cover design. You can get a cover designer for less than $500. I really recommend 99 Designs. Not necessarily for all kinds of fiction, but especially for nonfiction, that's a good safe bet. For a lot of fiction, you can also get high quality designs on 99 Designs. The problem with cover design is that if you don't know what you're doing and you're a first time author and you pay the designer directly, you're going to tell them what to do and they're going to make you the cover that you want. And that's probably not going to sell the book because you don't know what kind of covers actually sell books for your genre to your target audience. So if you don't know book design and you haven't really researched the market and you just pay a cover designer to make you what you want, you may end up with a cover that absolutely does not attract your target audience and doesn't sell the book. So that can be a complete waste of money. So in that sense, sometimes it's better to buy a publishing package if those people actually know something about cover design. The problem is there's so many small businesses and small presses and publishing houses which aggressively market to authors, and they'll sell you a package that includes cover design, editing, and marketing and whatever. But the cover design actually sucks. It's really bad quality cover design. I can tell because a lot of these publishing houses, they say publishing houses, but if they're charging you up front for publishing services, they're more like vanity presses. But you can look at their website. If it doesn't look very good, but especially if their cover design isn't great, that's a big red flag. Because sometimes they may be great at business and they may have a really nice polished website, but their samples of covers are really ugly. Or maybe they don't have any samples, or they only have 3 samples and they're all not great. That's a strong indication you shouldn't use them to publish, because getting the cover is so important. And if you just pay someone to do everything for you and it includes cover design, you don't get a high quality book cover, you're not going to sell any books, and that's going to become a big problem for you later. However, I was going to say, I've seen cover designers charge, like I said, $1,500 is like on the high end of cover design. But you can get a high quality cover for a couple $100 if you know where to look. I would join a bunch of writing groups and network with other authors. There's a lot of high quality Facebook groups for writers. And you want to be finding the groups with indie authors who are self-publishing and also making a living, because you want to find authors who know what they're doing, who have experience, who have great looking books, and who are actually selling books. There's a lot of writing groups online or on Facebook that are for writers who don't know very much about marketing and aren't making any money with their books. And those, I think, aren't particularly helpful if you want to learn about publishing. But there are some groups that are really helpful. I think on average, once you know what you're doing, it's possible to spend less than $500 on book design, and that's basically formatting and book covers. If you also are paying for a professional editor, that can be another big expense. Generally, a professional editor, like a developmental editor or an editorial critique, will cost an average of 2 cents a word. But again, there are professional editors who have worked with New York houses and have been doing it for 10 or 20 years. And then there are self-publishing authors who are decent writers who have started an editing company because it's an easy side business for them because their books aren't making any money. That's fine. I'm not saying they're bad editors, but they're willing to charge a lot less. So you can find really pretty decent editors who are charging 1 cent per word or 0.05 cents per word. My company, which is Book Butchers, tends to charge 2 cents, 4 cents, and 6 cents. So for an average 100,000 word novel, which is a long novel, it could cost a couple $1,000s. You can find an editor who charges much less, but you do have to be careful about the quality. And there's a big difference between a developmental editor who will help you improve the story and a line editor who will go through and improve the writing and clean up the actual writing, and a proofreader who will just find mistakes and typos. So you want to know what you're getting. And I've also heard lots of scare stories about I've heard lots of writers who have paid for several rounds of editing with several different editors, and they still find typos in their books. And they're disgruntled because they think, and I also believe, I think a high quality editor should catch all of the mistakes. In actuality, that's unlikely. I think they catch 95%. It depends also how rough your work is. If they have to spend all their time rewriting the clunky sentences and making it readable, they're probably going to miss some typos. If it's already super clean and they're just looking for typos, that's going to be a lot more thorough, and they'll probably catch more of those. But generally, you hire a developmental editor, and then a line editor, and then a proofreader, and you have 3 rounds of editing that are different people to catch all the mistakes. And even then, lots of times traditional publishing books go to print with typos. I find typos in traditionally published books all the time. So the point of this video is that there's a lot of, it depends. There's a lot of different ways of publishing. There's a lot of different price points. On average, what matters is that you spend as little as possible and get the highest quality book that's good enough to attract your readers and also satisfy them. So if the book cover is good enough, if the editing and the formatting is good enough that readers buy the book and they're satisfied with the story, then it's fine. I know that personally in my fiction, I have typos and mistakes in my books. I don't have many, but I have some. Sometimes I launch too early and there's too many and then I get negative reviews. But generally, most readers won't see all the typos anyway. And if there's only a couple typos in a 100,000 word, like a long book, they're not going to be distracted enough by the typos to lose the story. And if they're satisfied with the story, they're not going to care about the typos. There are always some people who will care about a couple. I've had people say I love the book, but there was one grammatical rule I didn't follow in the way that they thought it should be followed. Maybe because I'm from America and they were using UK English. So they gave me a 3-star review because of one, not even a typo or a mistake, just a difference in grammatical opinion. So you're going to get some of those. I think you need to do some research, do a lot of research. Don't just look like when someone offers you a package or a deal, like when someone's eager to sign you up, that's when you need to take a step back and be a little reluctant, because the more eager they are to sign you, they're probably going to be making money off selling you services. You do need to do some research. You need to join some writing groups. Try to learn as much as you can from people who aren't trying to sell you anything. There's a lot of high quality bloggers who talk about self-publishing that you can learn from, who put out a lot of free content. I have tons of free content on my blog, which is creativity.com, where I don't charge for anything. Those are the people you want to be learning from. However, they don't always know about book editing or book cover design. They may know about publishing in general or writing in general. They may not be making money from their books. They may talk a lot about self-publishing, and they may be a wealth of information, but if their books aren't selling or they don't have great cover designs, that's not where you should be listening to them. So do a lot of research. Don't just go on to the people selling vanity services who say they will publish your book for a fee. That's where you want to be reluctant and resistant. That might be finally the choice that you end up with because it's easier and you'd rather just pay someone to take care of it for you. But if you want to make a living as a writer, it's important to find the best quality service providers for the lowest cost. And that takes a lot of research and experience and knowledge. So you have to really know the market and do some digging, because often the people who charge the most have the most money to spend on advertising to put their service in front of you. So the first page of Google results, like whatever shows up when you search for services, those might not be the best quality services. The people you want to find are the ones who don't show up on the first page of Google, so they charge a lot less, or they're recommended. If you find self-publishing authors who have great covers, ask them who designed their covers. That's probably where you want to be putting your money, you want to be hiring. For publishing, I think most paid marketing is a waste of time. I think most paid promotional services are a waste of time. For book marketing, what works is personal relationships with other authors in your genre, or curated reader-specific lists that are focused on your genre or your topic, not a Twitter blast or an email blast that goes up to a lot of random people, different kinds of readers. You want very specific targeted readership. Specific advertising works well on Facebook or AMS, which is Amazon's advertising system, because they're very targeted, because you can focus on just putting your book in front of the right readers at the right time, and only those readers. So there's more likely to be traction. But after that, the best book marketing is a high quality book cover, a high quality book description, sales description. I would hire someone to do the editing for your blurb or your sales description, because that's very difficult to write yourself, and generally that's going to be the most important thing for conversion. You need a high quality cover, you need a great description, and you need book reviews, which come from giving your book to the right readers who like the genre, and hopefully they'll like your book. If the right readers of the right genre don't like your book, that's going to be a problem for you. You've written a book that the right readers don't like because you didn't consider the market. So if you have that kind of book and you've written a book that doesn't satisfy readers, the readers that you want it to satisfy, if they don't like the book you've written, you'll be able to spend tons of money on marketing and not see results. So you really need to go back and write a book that readers want to read and that satisfies the readers of the genre you're aiming for. Then you get a high quality cover that attracts readers. Those are the things that you need to focus on, the things that you should pay for. And if you do that, you don't need to spend lots of money on book marketing, because your conversion will be really high and you're going to get lots of reviews. So I think almost always authors lose money publishing the first book because they haven't written a book that satisfies a lot of readers, and also because they don't know where they should be spending their money, and they spend too much money on a lot of stuff that doesn't work, or on the wrong stuff, or they pay someone for the book cover they wanted that doesn't actually sell the book. I think it's normal to make all the mistakes. If you're launching something new, if you're learning the business of self-publishing and you want to make it a full-time career, you're going to make lots of mistakes. That's going to cost you money the first time you publish. That's kind of inevitable. You can do due diligence and research, but that's the average experience for most authors. You spend too much the first time you publish your book and you don't make money with your first book. That tends to be the case for the majority of authors. That's totally fine if that happens to you. You'll learn a lot anyway, and the more you publish, the more you learn about publishing, the easier it's going to get to spend less money publishing and earn more on every book launch. So it is very possible to make a living with your books if you're consistent and if you're willing to actually invest in learning the business and the industry. The danger is if you don't want to learn anything about the business and you just want to hire someone to do it all for you. That's where it's going to be easy to spend a lot of money without seeing your money back. And if that's the case, it's really easy to give up too early. It's very easy to say, I just lost a ton of money because nobody's buying this book that I spent all this money on, and just give up. And I think if you only have one book in you, if this was the book you want to write and you're not interested in writing any other books, that's too bad. But at least you got your book out there. It's still a huge accomplishment just to finish a book. So don't feel too bad about spending money on launching a book, because you've still done something that most people will never do. But if you want to make it a career and you want it to earn money, it's going to take there's a huge knowledge gap that you have to fill. No one's going to fill that knowledge gap for you. So you have to actually learn everything that you did wrong on your first book launch so that you learn how to spend less and make more money with future books. And if you're dedicated to doing that, and if you're willing to be flexible with the types of books that you're comfortable writing, then you can make money with your books. How much money you make is going to depend on mostly on what kind of books you're writing. That's really the biggest factor in terms of success, is if you're writing books that satisfy a very hungry audience where there's a high demand for the types of books that you're writing. Almost always the authors I talk to who have been doing this for a long time, and the difference between a book that sells 10,000 copies and a book that sells 1,000 copies is almost always the demand. So did they write, in my example, did I write a werewolf book or a vampire book or a mermaid book? Even if they're the same quality books and the same quality covers, those three different examples are going to sell 10 times differently in each case, just because the readership who's looking for that type of book is different in every example. Anyway, I hope this helps a little bit. Sorry if it's a little too broad and rambling, but I think it's an important topic. There are definitely ways to waste lots of money publishing, and often it's because if you've done a lot of things wrong, you're going to be tempted to spend a lot of money on book marketing, and that book marketing is not going to work to fix the core problems which needed to be done right the first time. However, there's always, if your book isn't selling, there's always time to rebrand it, to relaunch it, to do some more editing, to get a new cover. Just because your book isn't selling right now, maybe you made some big mistakes with the first book launch, but if you're not happy with the way it's selling, you can start over and either republish with a well-edited book with a better cover and fix the things. Like if you're getting negative reviews about certain things, if you want to, you can fix those things and you can relaunch a stronger book that's going to satisfy more readers. Or you might want to just write another book that aims at a broader market, and now you've taken everything that you've learned and do a better job this time.